Andrew Porter, welcome.
Thank you.
The thought did occur to me of all the weeks, this week might not be the one you wanted to do a sit down, in depth interview, potentially after last weekend. What's the last few days been like for you?
Yeah, as a professional athlete, you always kind of, I suppose you always prepare, or you're always, I suppose you're used to obviously the wins and the losses as well. But I think over the last few days, it's been a bit tough because obviously the way in which we lost and the way I suppose things transpired in the game obviously completely didn't go our way. Like, it didn't go away at all. And I suppose it just wasn't a true reflection of, I suppose, the preparation we put in, our training, particularly myself. Yeah, I haven't actually watched the game back. I'm not really, it's my week off technically. So I'm trying to step away and kind of just refresh myself, and obviously just take the learnings from it, and yeah, because I suppose like it's so important, as a professional, to take your learnings from games like that, going forward, just so, I suppose, so it doesn't happen again, personally as well as for the team.
It's interesting in your book, like this, there's a portion at the start when you talk about the fallout from the World Cup quarter final and how you're kind of beating yourself up about it and struggling to sleep. And there's a quote you say, "A bad defeat can take over your personal life because you're constantly thinking about it." And then as the book goes on, you kind of talk about being able to let go a little more. And that was 2 years ago. I'm just interested to know, those learnings, are these have they helped you over the last couple of days, or is the Saturday game, does that kind of bring you back to a place where it's hard to, as you say, your week off, to switch off?
Yeah, it is hard because it's, I suppose, my day job, where I'm a rugby player. I don't have a job outside it, that can kind of distract me, I suppose. But I have incredible perspective now. I have my son at home. I have my wife. I've got great people around me. I suppose I didn't have that. I didn't. My son was born last May, so I'm able to kind of park that at the door now when I get home, and I can be the best husband. I can be the best dad I can be. I can be there for them, and I suppose that's great for me to be able to switch off, and it's a great distraction as well. And yeah, but it is tough, I suppose, in the few days where you're kind of that, it's my week off, so I don't have that distraction of going back in and training and trying to right the wrongs of the weekend. I suppose, but all I can do is control my own mindset, control I suppose my reaction to it. I can't control what's just gone on over the weekend, which is obviously disappointing, but yeah, I can just take those learnings and move forward.
What's your perspective on why the game unfolded the way it did at the scrum? It's a kind of a part of the game that even you hear famous internationals on the commentary being like, I don't know anything about the scrum. I know, and they talk about it. The scrum at various times, I suppose sometimes Ireland have given away penalties, but what happened on Saturday, I think, surprised people. What's your perspective on why it went the way it did?
I don't know. You have a plan going into a game, obviously, and I suppose that South Africa had a plan as well, and I suppose their plan worked, ours didn't. And obviously it's tough out there, in the moment, I suppose, to fix those problems, to problem solve, when I suppose you've given away a few penalties, and I suppose you have that other side where probably the ref has that in his head that they're the dominant scrum. But yeah, it was more. I'd say it was that there's a lot on me on that. And I take responsibility a lot for that. And you have bad days at the office, and that was just one of them.
What does South Africa do at the scrum that makes it so difficult? 'Cause I think France have a powerful front row, but there's something about South Africa that seems to be, it's turbocharged. What is it like facing them, and what did they do on Saturday that made it so, I suppose, look so different to a different kind of match?
I'm not sure. Like I said, I haven't watched the game
Yeah.
back.
It didn't feel different in the
It
moment.
didn't, in the moment, you feel like you're in, you have a good shot, and then I suppose it's just after that it feels like it's just that surge, I suppose. It was tough to, obviously tough to deal with out there. And obviously I was pleading my case as best I could to the ref, trying to get some clarification. Um, like sometimes they're not the easiest people to talk to out there. When obviously there's a lot of pressure on them, to make decisions, and as you can see on the weekend, he had to make a lot.
Yeah.
Um, like we nearly needed a full size couch with the amount of sin bins we had. So, but yeah, I mean it's just, yeah, like I said, it's one of those bad days at the office. You want to kind of, I suppose, park it and leave it and forget about it, but that doesn't serve you really. In kind of your, I suppose, your development and your, like, my professional career. It doesn't serve me to park that. I have to be able to fix those things going forward for the future.
Is it one of those days where obviously scrum is only one part of your game? You're a key part of the team outside that. Is it hard to concentrate on duties outside the scrum when it's going like that? Like, is it hard to kind of, like, I don't know, does part of you just want to be whipped off and be put out of your misery, or like, do you want to, like, what's the kind of mindset like during a game like that?
No, I wouldn't be that mindset of, okay, if it's going to shit, I wouldn't be asking to be subbed off or anything. Um, like I'd keep going until I can, until I get subbed off, but like, what was the question, sorry?
Just what's the kind of the headspace in the game like that? Because, so say for instance, when Paddy McCarthy came on for you, I think it was around an hour. Then he got sin binned almost immediately, and then you had to go back on. I was wondering, what were you like? Oh, Jesus, like I don't want to go back on here.
No, like I was just kind of, I suppose I was in the headspace of, okay, like I'm gonna fucking give it my best shot. Sorry for the language,
No,
but um, give it my best shot and try and, I suppose, take back those mistakes that I made earlier, or change the game. And like that's not just in the scrum, that's obviously everywhere in the park. And um, you can't really sit on one area of the game. You have to move on quick. You have to get past a mistake and try and contribute around the park. Like you can't just,
yeah.
I suppose, rest on your laurels and kind of ruminate too much on what's transpired. But you have to, yeah, you have to move on quick in a game like that.
You mentioned the problem solving. Like at halftime, our laptops being brought out. Are people like, we need to like fix this now, or I suppose it's only one part of the game. But like, how does that work during a match?
Yeah, like usually at any kind of halftime, the analyst will bring out the laptop and you'll have a sit around and kind of like try and problem solve there and then when you have that time to be able to kind of fix it and I suppose change the plan. But a lot of it's off feel as well. Like a lot of it's kind of what I'm feeling, what Tide is feeling, what the hooker's feeling, as well as back five as well. So like I suppose it's never really down to kind of one particular area. Like it's obviously it's 8 men in there, but yeah, it's trying to problem solve the best you can.
Just what's the like for this is maybe a nerdy scrum question, but obviously the front row get a lot of focus to the scrum, but a lot is made of like the weight of the second rows as well. Like what's the relationship like there in a scrum between the second rows and what they're doing and what you guys are doing as well?
It's all completely related. Like it's all like you can't win a scrum with just 3 men at the front. It takes the full 8. And yeah, like it is. That's the way it's always been. Like you can't, like it takes 16 feet in the ground to obviously make an impact and have a good scrum. So it's not just, I suppose, those front 3 lads. That it's the, I suppose, that all the accountability is on. It's obviously what shows up. A lot of the time, it's what the referee sees, and they're the ones who are likely to be sanctioned for it. But yeah, I mean, it's like it's an 8-man job, but and that's not to say no one, like, I'm not hanging out anyone out to dry here. Like a lot of it's on me, for what happened on the weekend for my own performance. So, but yeah, it is an 8-man job.
What sort of conversations were you having with the ref? Were you kind of pleading your case? Like what would you have been saying to him to try to get him to change the picture, as they say?
I was just kind of, he was saying one thing, I was, I suppose, disagreeing with him, as usually is the case where you don't really see eye to eye. But yeah, I mean, yeah, like it's I suppose it's tough, I suppose in the moment to be able to kind of keep your head and I suppose talk calmly
Yeah.
when you feel like being hard done by, um feel like you just want an answer that can, I suppose, change his perception. Um,
Because you talk about that in the book as well, 2023 World Cup, about kind of that struggle of trying to keep your head when you feel like you're being hard done by.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
still ongoing.
yeah. Well, I mean, I suppose it's such a high pressure part of the game. There's such a you obviously want to do the best for your team and you want the best outcome. So I suppose that's why you could probably get like at times I could be overly emotional or like I let that kind of seep into the way I talk to officials. But like I suppose there's only so much you can do, and like there's only so much that he's responsible for. Like it's on the play, like it's on me.
Yeah.
It's on. So it's
There is an idea that like referees have an idea about how you scrummage from the get go. I'm not sure what you think about that notion that like I don't know, maybe it's like opposition coaches sending screenshots and being like Andrew Porter does X
I mean you're like every kind of scrum coach does that.
Yeah.
Always happens. You send, I suppose, clips to referees to watch out for this in the team you're playing that week. You usually send in like ref clips and stuff,
Yeah.
so you can get clarification, I suppose. And yeah, I'm not privy really to those
Yeah.
to those.
Do you get the
meetings or what goes
sense that
on.
referees have their mind made up on you?
No, no, not always.
Okay.
Some might.
Yeah.
Yeah, get on quite well with some of them though.
Yeah, fair enough. And like the weekend, do you think that carries over like the performance of the weekend, that like next time you're being ref by that referee or next time you're playing South Africa, the refs will have it in their head the last time, or do you think it's every game is different?
I think every game's different, and I think it has to be from their point of view. I don't think they can go in with kind of preconceived ideas. I'm not saying they do. I'm not for 1 second saying they do, but for consistency reasons for the game, I think that's obviously has to start from scratch nearly from each game.
Yeah. We'll delve into your story 1 second just to wrap up. November generally for you, how did you find it? Like, so you have a Chicago Hounds hat. I'm assuming maybe you got that in your trip to Chicago early in November. Obviously, a bit of a battle with Paddy McCarthy emerged somewhat. And how did you find the month generally?
Yeah, I mean, it's great obviously being in that setup. Like, you don't take it for granted one bit. Incredibly, like, I suppose, privileged to be part of such a incredible group with such, I suppose, great coaches, great players, great environment and great culture. But I suppose we didn't start off the way we wanted. I suppose like a disappointing start over in Chicago.
How much of that do you think was that the game time was really being held up? That like guys had played very little. I think you'd only played the Munster match maybe, and a lot of guys were in the same boat. Do you think that was a big factor?
Like it's hard to tell.
Do you feel like I'm not match fit or I'm not at my international pitch here?
No, I mean it's easy to say that now. Like I suppose in hindsight that could be a factor, but I don't think like for 1 second that's what it is, because everyone in the setup is obviously there for a reason. That's like it doesn't matter if you haven't played a game or you're at the end of your season or in mid-season. I suppose you have to be able to kind of pitch up and put it in whenever it comes around. So it's just the way the season, the timeline of the season is. That maybe a lot of guys hadn't got a lot of game time going into it, but yeah, I suppose it wasn't the start we wanted, and then I suppose a mixed bag against Japan. First half was just obviously not. I suppose it wasn't like we couldn't really flow, and then second half it kind of opened up a small bit, and kind of we were, I suppose, got on to kind of the way we want to play a bit more. Australia was a bit better again, bit more of a kind of a fuller performance it felt. But yeah, and then obviously I don't think, just with everything that went on in the last game, like the was being down to 12 men and I suppose the way the outcome of that game turned out. I mean, it's obviously not what you want, but I think you'd rather that happen now than come to Six Nations and you're kind of looking for, I suppose, answers and stuff. But it's I suppose it's good. Yeah, like I said, it's good to happen now rather than down the line. It shows us where we can improve exactly.
Yeah. No, it's good to get an insight into that. Let's touch on the book now.
Yeah,
Andrew Porter, Heart on My Sleeve, My Story of Struggle and Strength. We were chatting before we came in. Like, it's a very open book, very honest book about your personal life. There's a bit of rugby in there naturally, as you say, it's your day job, and you touch on the matches, but the matches are almost like a facility to talk about the other issues that you kind of raise. And
yeah,
some people will probably be familiar with some of it if they've watched the Netflix documentary. You've been on the Late Late Show a couple of times over the years, like the death of your mother Wendy as a child. You've talked about that before, but I suppose this is kind of the full picture of your life. Kind of, you talk about after that moment, suffering from an eating disorder as a teenager, kind of, seeing a therapist around that time, some kind of drinking around that time, even a moment on a family farm where you kind of briefly think about taking your own life. Like, it's a really kind of stark, picture you paint of a tough teenage period for you. Like, what made you decide to talk about that? Because no one would have been kind of pointing, being like, oh, where's Andrew Porter's book about his teenage years? Like, it was almost like we knew a bit about you, but you obviously decided to tell this story, and it's such a powerful and raw story.
Yeah. I mean, it like you said, a lot of it kind of originated from the Netflix documentary, and in that, like, I had no idea what I was going to talk about when I kind of put myself forward to be involved with it. I suppose the result of the documentary was got a lot of people coming back saying that they resonated with the story, and these were people who had never watched rugby before. These were people who were like, "Oh, I wanted to watch the documentary because I wanted to learn more about rugby and what you guys do." So it was a little bit overwhelming because you were getting a lot of kind of messages from people who'd gone through similar issues or their own personal issues that they resonated with, or that it helped in some way that I suppose someone who can be perceived as being kind of this real, I suppose, strong, and that everything's perfect, that obviously it's not all sunshine and rainbows. And I suppose it was the book company came last year, and they put it forward to write a book, and I shot it down pretty much straight away because I was never in the mindset of ever doing a book, especially now, like while I'm still playing, or I've never even thought about doing it. Obviously, a few years when I hang up the boots. So it took quite a lot of convincing, I suppose, from my wife mainly. Like, she was incredibly supportive, and I suppose she was pushing the message that I helped quite a lot of people with the documentary. How many more people could you help by sharing your full, unfiltered story in the form of the book? And yeah, I mean, so far it's got, like, again, really good feedback, really good, really just positive, a lot of positivity from it, from something that I didn't want to do, but I feel it was it would have been quite selfish of me to, I suppose, not share it, because I want to be able to obviously help people who are going through their own kind of mental struggles, and I thought it'd be selfish if I didn't put that story out there, because I'd rather be able to help people now than wait 5-10 years until that might be too late for some people.
It's a good point, I think.
Yeah.
I think it hits harder from being a current player, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Like, the kind of stuff you talk about in the book is stuff you might hear from a guy writing a book in his 50s talking about how I felt during my career. Whereas, there's something different about it, obviously, because it's funny, I was telling someone, I was talking to you for your book and they didn't know the subject matter, they're like, geez, he's very young to be doing a book. Like he's halfway through his career. But then I was explaining what the subject matter was, and it makes it more impactful, I think.
Yeah, like, and that was the huge kind of selling point for me to do it, was if I can help people now, I will, rather than wait years down the line to potentially do it. So,
like, a key part of the story obviously is the death of your mother from cancer, and like, I think a lot of probably stuff kind of stems from that subsequently, from what you're telling of it. And the thing that still hits me though is that her funeral was the day before you started secondary school.
Yeah.
Like, that must have been so tough. I don't want to second guess something that happened a long time ago, but geez, I was like, could they not let Andrew stay at home for a day just to, I don't know, just to process it? It just seems so like, I can only imagine what that was like.
Yeah, like, it was like, I can only kind of, I suppose, just kind of put myself in my dad's shoes, and I'd say he was just like, this would be the best thing for him. And it probably was the best thing for me, it was a distraction. If I was at home, I would have just been like, it would be the only thing I was thinking about. And I suppose being thrown into that new environment, you don't really know anyone, you don't know the teachers, you don't really, it's completely new. I suppose it was that distraction that I probably needed. And my dad knew I loved to play rugby, and I could do that when I was in school. And I suppose, particularly in those first few weeks, I would, I suppose, drift through the whole day, and then I'd get to 4 o'clock and I get to go out and train. And I suppose that was the best thing for me, is being around people. I suppose building those friendships with people. I suppose that was incredibly important for me at the time.
Does being a dad now make you look back at, like, 12-year-old Andrew and, I don't know, with a different perspective?
I'm not sure. Like, from, like,
I don't know.
From my dad's point of view?
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. I don't know from any point of view. I suppose, having a child now kind of puts you in a different kind of headspace. And then you're just looking at what you were like then, and I don't know how you view it, or in your mind's eye when you see him.
It's tough to, obviously, to kind of take yourself out of it.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've lived it. I've experienced it all. So it's tough to kind of look at it in a different lens and a different perspective, I suppose, because I lived it all, and I suppose came through it all, and came out the other side, thankfully.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's I suppose it's difficult to be able to kind of say what I would have done or what I wouldn't have done. There's probably a lot of stuff I shouldn't have done, from me.
Yeah.
But it was my way of articulating things at the time, where you're so raw with emotion and raw in, I suppose, your way of dealing with things. You feel like you're doing the right thing, I suppose. You feel like in your own mind you're doing the right thing by, I suppose, trying to fix it all yourself, when all I really needed to do probably was reach out. But yeah,
the world has moved on a lot since then. I feel like things would just be naturally handled differently, almost by dint of how society has developed. Like, in books like this and telling this kind of story makes it more, I suppose.
Like, I mean, it's not even that long. Like, it's not even that many years that you can see way more people. The conversations are way more prevalent. People are more willing, I suppose, to reach out for help, or there's better access to services, I suppose. And I think because more and more people are speaking about it, people are more comfortable to ask a mate for a bit of their time to kind of share their thoughts, what they're going through, no matter how big or small. And that's so powerful. It's starting those conversations, and I suppose it's getting people more aware of noticing when people are going through something. So, like, I think it's something that's really come on leaps and bounds in the last few years. Definitely from when I was 12. I can't remember anything really being there. Obviously, I probably wasn't looking for it, but I suppose you don't have to look too far now to find the help you need.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're willing to put in the work and willing to kind of reach out as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The your kind of eating disorder in your teenage years is a very fascinating part of the book. I hadn't heard that before. I'm not sure if you had spoken about that. Definitely passed me by if you had anyway, and you talk about it, and you refer to a photo that's in the book as well of you very skinny around maybe 14 years of age.
Yeah.
It says kind of brace your heart looking at the photo. Like, how did the eating disorder, like, how did that develop? Like,
I suppose like I was always a bigger kid when I was younger. Not to say I was unhealthy. Like I was really so I played pretty much every sport under the sun. And I suppose there was probably a lot on my mind. I was probably self conscious quite a lot. By the way, like maybe I was perceived, or I suppose my self esteem was probably on the floor, and I suppose the death of my mum was just the spark that kind of that like it was like all my self esteem had been tipped over, and it was petrol everywhere, and the death of my mum was just the match that lit it all up. And I suppose that's just how it manifested in the form of an eating disorder, where like I didn't know anything really about nutrition or anything, not as near as much as I know now, because I just went from one extreme to the other where I just got really, really interested in it. But yeah, I mean, I felt I was doing the right thing by, oh, I'm losing all this weight, I'm going to feel so much better. But it wasn't until like seeing that photo, like, and I saw that a few years ago and didn't want to look at it because I was just like, no, that's not me anymore. But yeah, seeing the photo was just like, you think you're doing all the right things at the time, and then seeing the photo, you're just like, what was I thinking? What was I doing?
it's still hard to look at it.
Yeah, well, I'm at peace with it now um, because I know I've come out the other side. But yeah, it's like it's tough seeing it, and that's how obviously other people saw me, and how probably worried everyone was, how worried my family, how like I didn't think about that at all. I was completely shut off from everything around me. I like completely just kind of in on myself, trying to sort everything out by myself. And yeah, like it's kind of like it was like a shock when I saw that photo a few years ago. Because I was just like, Jesus, like that's what was going on. That's exactly how everything kind of transpired. It kind of came to a head in the form of that, I
Yeah.
suppose. But
Because in the book you outline, I suppose you might like skip breakfast, like then tell your dad you had lunch at
yeah,
school when you hadn't, and like that kind of like you outline one scene where you kind of go into the bathroom, I think after dinner, maybe get sick, and then your dad is outside the bathroom and he's like, you kind of have I suppose an argument
yeah,
about it, and you're just like, oh, this is this is heavy stuff.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. Like it was just, yeah, it's actually wild, kind of thinking back where my mindset was, and yeah, I suppose it's all those kind of experiences, those things that kind of that make you into the person you are. And I think that all those experiences have kind of they've strengthened me. They obviously took a lot out of me and a lot out of my family at the time, but it's all come together to, I suppose, make me into who I am, and kind of change my mindset on a lot of those things that.
There's a really nice moment in the book when you kind of talk about how the eating disorder maybe came to an end ultimately. And one of the moments you cite is your teacher in St Andrews, David Jones,
Yeah.
who's a real formative influence, handing you kind of a nutritional leaflet, IRFU, like this is what you should be eating to be a pro rugby player, basically. And rugby was still such a huge part of your life even throughout this. And that kind of like maybe starts pulling you out of it. And it was just, I don't know, it just stood in my mind. It's he probably did, well, maybe he did, but maybe he didn't think as much about it when he handed it to you, but it ultimately did a huge amount. It like changed your life in some ways.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I mean, there was obviously a lot that contributed to getting me out of that hole I was in. That was just kind of like that was just it really stuck out in my mind because like when I was going through all of that, my love for rugby never changed, and my love of playing and I suppose my dreams of always kind of being a professional rugby player never really changed. So when I was handed that RFU kind of nutritional guide, I was like, okay, this is what I suppose I need to do if I want to fulfill my dream of playing rugby. When
Giving you permission almost to eat.
exactly, yeah, yeah, like, and it was just kind of it wasn't like just kind of like a like
Yeah.
okay, that's all pushed aside. It took a lot of like I suppose there was days where like I would eat a lot and then I'd be like I'd make myself feel bad because I was like, oh no, I've done this for so long. It was hard to shift that out of that mindset, and that was just kind of like I suppose the that was just like a small thing that kind of changed my outlook, changed my perception of the situation. And like he was like Dave Jones was incredible to me coming into school. I suppose he knew kind of my situation when I was coming in, but not for one second did he ever kind of, I suppose, coddle me or kind of like take it easy on me. I suppose he pushed me, and that's something I needed for my own like mental fortitude, and I suppose like to strengthen myself like physically and mentally. Like he was an incredible coach who like taught me kind of the basics of the gym, which I turned out to become absolutely obsessed with. And then it's mad. I became like I said, it was like one shift from one extreme to one like shift to the other, where I wasn't eating anything to getting mad into nutrition and the gym and training and rugby. And yeah, I think that all kind of stemmed from him, I suppose, being such a great mentor to me in school. Because he was my rugby coach in the first few years when I was in Andrews, and then he was a PE teacher as well, and he also ran the gym in the school, and I'd always just look forward to to going and working out with him, whether knowing that it was going to be like incredibly tough because he was like he made you work, but
Yeah.
it's exactly, I suppose, what I needed and what I wanted as well.
Yeah, it's funny because like there's some moments of humor even within like the heavy parts when you then talk about like you're gonna the diet by the time you got to Sixter and you're having like 6 raw eggs and oats and berries at 5 a.m. then going to the gym, then having like chicken and pasta for 2 at like 9 a.m. and then like
I used to make like boiled chicken shakes, like
yeah.
boiled chicken, and I'd throw in like whatever into a blender and blend it up and drink that because it was like came to like a point where I was like force feeding myself. Like I was
Yeah.
nearly like I was like feeling sick because of the amount of food I was eating then. Because I suppose I wanted to completely shift from that person I was. I went from being like I was the biggest kid when I was younger to the skinniest, and then I wanted to completely change the way I saw myself, and I wanted to change the way other people saw me.
To that point, sorry to cut in because you talk about under 16 Leinster coach John Fogarty,
Yeah,
who's now your coach, assistant coach with Ireland, saying to you, "I'm sorry, you're not big enough."
yeah.
Like
That
around that time, that could have really been a big. I don't know what you mentioned it in the book, obviously, but I just thought that was funny how it's obviously worked out. But I'd say at the time that was a serious knockback, considering what you'd been through and where you were going in your
yeah,
journey.
but like I took that personally in the right way. I took that like, okay, I need to get better. I need to work on this. This is what I need to work on. And then it was that again. It was like those kind of like it was like Dave Jones handed me the leaflet. Then it was like that, which like some people might get kind of knocked back and like I suppose a confidence hit when they're told they're not big enough. But I saw that as a challenge, and then I went from under 16s. I went that was probably third or fourth year, and then I just I suppose just built myself, because I suppose I wanted to change myself completely from that person I was, and I suppose I wanted to push that all away. I wanted to not be associated with that person anymore by changing my outlook and changing my mindset, changing kind of my lifestyle as well. And I became incredibly obsessed with that. That's just the personality I have, a really addictive personality, and I threw myself into all of that. I'm like very much an all or nothing kind of like I will like exhaust it. But yeah, it was like getting up at like 4 or 5 in the morning to go and train before school, and then yeah, eating eating like
Drinking a 3 liter milk, just like walking around
yeah,
the
walk
school
around
corridors with
school.
3 liter milk. It's
Yeah,
like, who is this guy?
probably stale by the end of the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, eating like chicken and broccoli and like 9 a.m. registration, and people giving out about the stink of it. So, yeah, I mean, it's just it's strange how just things kind of pan out. Um, and I suppose yeah, I put a lot of work into digging myself out of that hole myself, but I definitely wouldn't be here without a lot of other people as well, like my family, my dad, my two sisters, um, at the time, obviously now my wife, but like, and even like some of the mentors I talked about, like David Jones, my extended family, like my mates in school, like everyone contributed to who I am now, and yeah, like I have a lot of gratitude for a lot of people that who I haven't mentioned in the book. Like there's a lot of people. There's like a list, but um, yeah, like it is mad how things kind of can change when you, I suppose, when you're willing to put in the work and yeah,
I'd like to ask you about your dad, or Ernie, like a big character in the book, obviously.
yeah,
Feels like someone that's like well known generally. I feel like I don't know many players' fathers' names, but for some reason I feel like I knew your dad's name before. Maybe it's because Ernie's maybe a more distinctive name than the average parent. Obviously you kind of talk about like the struggles he was dealing with. Like he had lost a wife,
yeah,
he had to raise 3 children while also working, and you were trying to put yourself in his shoes almost about what he would have been feeling around this time. But one part of the book that really stood out to me, or one line in the book, is you obviously talk about the stuff we've talked about now, some of the issues you had in your teenage years, and you said that you hadn't actually talked to your dad like now about what that was you were like then.
yeah.
You almost, I don't know if you didn't want to open the can of worms, or you just didn't want to know what he'd say, or that just really stuck out to me, and I was curious, upon the release of the book, have you discussed any of these things with him since?
Yeah, like I mean, I think that's just kind of how. I'm not sure how. I can't speak for all men. I think that's probably just we. I suppose when you're with your own man, you just kind of want to be in the best form. You want to be just chatting about the good times. You want to just be having the crack together. I suppose it probably was like a small bit. You don't want to open a can of worms. Like it's like there's so much to unpack, and where do you start? Like there's obviously so much he dealt with. Like you said, he lost his wife. He had to support 3 kids. He like I suppose he probably had it the worst because he just had to get on with things. He just had to buck up and go out and work while we were like and support us and bring me to training, to matches, all that, all this, that, and the other. Put food on the table. So he probably had it the worst, and he's probably from a generation where it was never a thing to, I suppose, talk about. The way obviously I talk about things. But yeah, like we have talked about it. Like we went for a few. Like it's funny, just like how the good a few pints can do sometimes, just to kind of lighten the mood a small bit and kind of break down the wall. A small in a way, and yeah, like we talk about a lot. It's probably things we still haven't talked about. But again, like he was the rock, the constant in the family that kept us all going. And he was probably just finding it hard to keep himself going
Yeah.
at the time. So, yeah, no, he's he should write a book, but he's usually a man of few words. But when he speaks, everyone listens.
Was it tough to hear his perspective on some of the things that you were going through?
Yeah, because I suppose you don't. When I was going through everything, I didn't. I felt I didn't have any awareness of the effects it was having on others. I thought I was completely alone in my struggles. That's not the case at all. my two sisters had lost such a huge figure in their lives, their mother, the woman of the household, and obviously my dad, and my wider family as well. But yeah, like it was very hard, I suppose, chatting to my sisters a few years ago, or a few years after, what exactly they were going through. They were all they were fighting their own battles. And we were the family that would have a big debrief or sit around the table and chat about things. Like we all just kind of got on with it and did things our own way. But like we were all kind of like, it's through conversation you learn exactly what kind of they were going through. And it is tough kind of a few, like when you hear about it a few years after that, how was I so oblivious to what was going on when it was right there. But yeah, like it is important, I think, to have those conversations, especially with the people who you share the same kind of share the same journey and share the same struggle with. But yeah, like I mean, yeah, there was even some things in the book that I'd never talked to my family about before, because I'd nearly pushed it so far away that I had forgotten about it. Like it wasn't until I had chat to Richie Sadler in an interview for the book that, and Richie's a psychotherapist. I'm not sure, there's so many names and professions in that area, and I hope that's the right one. But Richie is he's incredible in the way he was just able to, I suppose, ask a certain question in a certain way that kind of lit up something in my head that unlocked a memory from so long ago. And that was the kind of the one on the farm in the shed, that I had completely just kind of pushed away and forgotten about until he kind of asked me. And there was like, yeah, there's a few bits in the book that I had never talked to my family about.
So would he have asked you, did you ever think of taking your own life?
Well, I think that was kind of the obvious question,
Yeah.
but like I'm not sure that which way he asked it, because it was really kind of, it's like it just hit me.
Yeah.
Like it's like it just, like literally the key in the lock and ching, it's like the memory's open. But
So your family wouldn't have known about that
no, and I had
you have to
to,
tell them before.
yeah, like because obviously I didn't want them reading about it for the first time, in a book. I wanted to obviously, yeah, try and I sent them to like the first draft of the book and let them have a read of it. Like 'cause I still find it kind of tough being able to kind of, I suppose, talk about that kind of thing, because it's nearly like I feel a bit guilty, um, or I wouldn't want them to feel guilty and like, oh, why wasn't he able to tell us this? And then I'm thinking, oh, do I like, not that they think less of me, but like that yeah, would I kind of make them feel guilty that I wasn't comfortable enough telling them this? So there was a bit where, I kind of sent them through the draft of it, and I put in a little footer on it, just being like, here, like there's a lot of this in this I should have told you, but I hope you understand that, why I didn't. I think incredibly understanding. Like we get on so well, whole family. So yeah, I think I've got an incredible support network that I always had there, through um through the worst times. But I was so oblivious to it at the time. But yeah, it wasn't like, I've said this in the book, it wasn't like those movies where you lose someone, the family gets closer together, everyone's giving each other a dig out. Like it's like we like I said, we all did our own thing. We all tried to navigate our own way through it. And you could feel incredibly like you have nothing, but it was complete opposite. We had each other, and we had, yeah, had an incredible support network that I didn't see, I suppose, until too late. Yeah, and I'm very, very grateful for them.
Yeah. Well, it's like unbelievably powerful passages in the book around that. And it's interesting that you say that that's kind of prompted you guys to have those discussions. That, as I said, when I was the quote about your dad, I was like, I wondered if they actually did talk about that subsequently. Like, it's funny, the back half of the book, at the very end of the book, I suppose, your own journey into fatherhood now. How's that going?
Yeah, it's great. Like, I mean, I wasn't there for most of it at the start. Sure.
I didn't want to say it like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
It's such
yeah.
an emotional part. I wasn't gonna be like, yeah, mate, you went in the Leinster.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, like that was.
I would have done the same. I was like, I was talking to my wife earlier, and I was like, because we had a baby recently, and I was like, I definitely wouldn't have gone to the Lion store, and she was like, you would. I was like, I 100% would have. I was like, it's the Lion store, like, I could give the guy a break. Like.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I was there for the important. I was there for the most important part. I was there for obviously the birth, and it was the week of the URC final as well. So,
What age was he when you left?
3 weeks, 3 weeks old. Yeah. So like it was obviously incredibly. It was obviously tough to go.
Yeah.
Because obviously I wanted to be there and support Elaine, be there for my son. It's such a kind of, it's such an unknown time for first time parents because like you obviously don't know what the fuck you're doing. You're just
Yeah.
you're kind of like when you're leaving the hospital, like
Can you come with me?
do you need to check to make sure we're okay to bring this baby home? There's no big sign off when you're leaving. It's just like, okay, bye, see you, like best of luck. You're on your own now. But no, like like I suppose the sacrifice Elaine made, I suppose to be kind of a first time mother and to be such a great mother while I was away and kind of like being like a single parent, but like. It's like it's like the saying, it takes a village, and everyone kind of chipped in when I was away. So
It's funny in the book you described maybe initially like before the baby had arrived, you kind of really wanted to go, and her being a bit apprehensive, and then by the time it came, you'd almost swap roles.
Yeah.
She was like, "No, you need to do this," and you were like, "Geez, I actually think should I be staying potentially?" It was like kind of flipped almost.
Yeah, it's funny how that happens. It's yeah, like I mean, it's such I suppose an emotional time. Your firstborn, and such a huge moment of your career comes up like that, and yeah, like it was Elaine kind of be like, this only happens to how many people who are playing rugby in your position, so yeah, it was honestly it was surreal, the tour. Like it was incredible experience.
Was it strange for you? Like, did it not take away your enjoyment? But was it hard to kind of concentrate in the rugby? Because obviously, I'm sure you were FaceTiming back home the whole time, and you had that going on. Like the other guy in like competing for positions were probably able to just kind of be laser focused on like getting into the testing, whereas you had this going on at home as well. Did that make it kind of I don't know, a different kind of tour for you?
It did and it didn't. Like it's not like you're like 20, 30 years ago where you're gone and you're calling the house phone, like you're waiting by the phone and everyone's queuing up to use the one phone. Like so like it's you're only a phone call away realistically. But yeah, like it was kind of, I suppose it was nice knowing that I had that to come home to and that to play for as well. I had not just my wife and my family, I also had a son to go out and play for, and I suppose when he's older and he's looking back, like I'd want him to be, I suppose, not in an egotistical way. I'd like be proud of kind of hopefully of what I've done, and I suppose it gives you that extra added motivation to play well for and to I suppose represent your family the best you can.
Is it going to be harder for you to be a really good player with like a child? Like the thought occurs to me that like just naturally like the parenting part will that be getting in the way of like to say like what I know you would have been in Ireland camp. Maybe it's more if you were at Leinster when you'd be living in your own house. Like, and then having that managing as well. Like, I don't know. Because not that... A lot of guys, I suppose, have kids during their career, but some of them don't. And I'm just, yeah. But,
I mean, like, we've always wanted, like, this is the best thing that could have happened.
Yeah.
To myself and my wife. So, like, I'll always be, like, a father first. Like, that'll always be there. A father, a husband, and then a rugby player. So, like, it doesn't get in the way. Like, I'm still able to do everything the best I can. I don't really, like, the sleepless nights don't really affect me because I never really used to sleep anyway. So like kind of getting if I
You're getting up at 5 a.m. to make your
yeah
oat kind of egg
my cake
concoctions. Yeah.
batter mix that I used to eat. But no, like I mean, it's part of life. It's part of life. I think there's obviously family is hugely important to me, and I suppose being there for my family. And yeah, I mean, it's obviously tough in the career that I have because obviously you're away for quite a lot, and it's not like your average kind of 9 to 5 where you kind of your schedule or you're like I tend to be away quite a lot, like given November and
10 days in
clients.
Chicago.
Yeah,
That was a handy one.
yeah. But no, I was jet lagged the whole thing. I didn't sleep at all.
Really?
Yeah, well,
It's like
that's what
usually
I
you would go
that's
out
what
the
I
week
say.
off. I was like,
That's what I say to my wife back home. I'm not sleeping either. But yeah, I mean, it's like it's that will always be my life being a father now. That'll
oh yeah, rightly so. I only asked the question because it was just like occurred to me, like, geez, I wonder how much more difficult it is to kind of hit your peak performance when you have this, kind of the added not even responsibilities, just the general, like, mechanics of being a parent, like, it's in the late nights, like all the stuff that
yeah.
entails.
Well, I mean, like Elaine is like she obviously understands
Yeah.
that it's not just like, oh, I've got
I'm eating in the morning.
I'm
I'm
working.
playing the Springboks on Saturday. Like, I can't do a night feed on Friday.
or
Like,
that I'm working. Oh, I'm allowed to work from home
Yeah.
tomorrow. It's not
Yeah,
like
yeah. That's fair.
it's so she understands that she's incredibly supportive of all of that. Like she's been absolutely incredible in terms of looking after him so that I can focus on my career as well. Yeah, so that's been it's one of those things that you just have to adapt to. And yeah, that's what I suppose you're always constantly trying to do that as well because it's things don't always stay the same when you have a baby. Like
Yeah.
they go through phases of sleeping, then not sleeping, and something changes. So yeah, it keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, I'm sure. There's one rugby thing I'd like to ask you actually. That I was always intrigued to ask you about this if I ever had a chance. There's one part of the book when you're talking about coaches who had a big influence on you. You mentioned David Jones, you mentioned Keane Ely coming into Leinster, you mentioned John Fogarty, Leo Cullen, Stuart Lancaster, Andy Farrell, and then you have a quote. You say, "They knew instinctively how to get the best out of me, but more importantly, how to instill confidence in me. In my experience, positive encouragement does far more to help a player than making them afraid to make a mistake." And just looking at the list of coaches who's not named there is obvious, Joe Schmidt, and the way you characterize those guys' management styles is kind of to what people might have said about the Joe Schmidt environment. Like, did you find that a tough, taxing environment for you?
I suppose at the time because I was like a young player coming into the Irish setup, there was I was probably very anxious about not fucking up and not making mistakes the whole time, and I let that just sit on me so much, to an extent that I was kind of like I was like counting every bump on the way into camp.
I remember you saying that, and
Yeah.
that really stuck out to me.
Yeah, but like it wasn't to do with the coach. It wasn't
Yeah.
to do with Joe. I owe a lot to Joe. He gave me my first Irish cap in New Jersey. He, I suppose, trusted me enough to give me my first Ireland jersey, and I suppose on from that I was involved in the Grand Slam in 2018, and the World Cup as well. So like, there's a lot I obviously owe to Joe in terms of the start of my professional career and kind of getting in the door of the Irish setup. So yeah, like he was.
But it was stressful.
It was stressful, but I probably did a lot of that to myself in probably the way I dealt with things, or probably the way I kind of overanalyze things. Where as now, I suppose the environment and the culture we have on the team now is like it's just like I don't feel like I'm always on. Like when you're in camp, you're working. When you're working hard, but you have, I suppose, that breathing room to kind of step away and kind of enjoy being in camp as well, and enjoy building those relationships with your teammates. But yeah, like it's. I suppose I was probably talking more because it's more recent in the coaches I had there. But
Yeah, because to be fair, like you can obviously Joe Schmidt is renowned for his tactical acumen.
yeah,
But a lot of guys have said that the environment was very different than Andy Farrell's style. It was, as you say, when you had to be on at all times and know the detail. And I'm sure that can be tough for certain players. Like I've heard Andrew Trimble talk about saying, "Oh, I loved being not uncomfortable," but some guys, I'm sure, don't.
yeah. I mean, it's probably something you had to get used to. Because I was still quite a raw player. Like I was 21 when I made my first cap, and I was in cap before that as well. So it was probably just like a period of kind of getting used to, I suppose. Because after that, after a while, I was kind of thriving in it. I was like really enjoying it when obviously when Joe was there, but it was obviously took a while to get.
That's why it was an interesting observation because it's not as if like he never picked you and you had no success.
No,
The
no,
opposite,
no,
he
no.
picked you loads
Yeah.
and you won the Grand Slam. That's why I was just interested that like you listed out guys and the way you characterize them as kind of maybe Andy Farrell style, the more positive style. Not that Joe couldn't be positive, I'm sure he could on occasions, but that like Joe's was a detail oriented coach.
Incredibly, and I think his detail at the time, like kind of at the peak of like his reign in Irish rugby and obviously with Leinster, it was like the detail was second to none. Like it was just like it was the amount, and I suppose it was probably like because I hadn't ever seen that level of detail before, that probably just kind of like, and probably having to know everything inside out. Like I'd never had to do that before. Like in any setup because I was even under 20s before that, and kind of came through quite quick. But it was probably just that kind of shook me, and the way my mind works, like the ADHD mind of mine, probably just didn't like the amount of detail in it. That
When you said counting the bumps, just really jumped out. Like, geez, like he sounded like he was dreading going in the camp.
yeah, well, I suppose that was probably just because I was afraid of like getting something wrong, with the amount of detail that was probably in it, because it was just like it was like the playbook was there that you had to learn, and I was afraid of like
Not knowing it.
I was afraid of not knowing it, even though I
Being
probably
called out in a meeting or
yeah, or studying it so many times, and still I'd find a way to to mess it up.
Yeah, well, like it does occur to me like it's a lot. It's very technical. Same with like an NFL playbook. It's like that's a lot of jargon for lads to know. Like,
Yeah, yeah, and I suppose it probably was just that settling in period when you're coming in and you're like, probably just not used to it, and then like you pick it up quite quick after a while, and you're kind of just like, what was I worrying about?
yeah.
For so long.
But it's funny. Eddie Jones said a funny thing there a couple of weeks ago, and he basically was like, the thing that gets you like a lot of success is ultimately the thing that people turn against you for. So like Joe brought in the detail, everyone's like, oh, it's so detailed, but by the end people were like, oh, is it too much detail? And then Andy Farrell, oh, it's just a loose environment, but then people are like, oh, is it getting too loose? Do we need to go back to like a Joe style like disciplinarian? Like there's like it's like cyclical it can be as well.
I think a lot of people like I think it's just like when things like Irish rugby is in such a good place, and like obviously we didn't get the right results in a few games, but it's not like panic station. It's not like, oh, we need to completely change everything. That's the same with it. Like I think it's because of the success of the teams in the last few years. I think that's kind of people expect quite a lot then. Like
Once you've been at the top table, it's hard to
yeah.
know,
It's hard for people to see any different.
Yeah.
And like, look, we want the best from ourselves, and we want to be at the top table. But like sometimes it's just like, it's not through lack of effort or anything. It's not like time to hit the panic button or anything.
Yeah. One Leinster question, because like I've loved this chat. I could talk to you all day. Why do you think Leinster haven't won more Champions Cups? Have I said it?
This is the question that's always on my mind as well. But like, I think it's just, look, it's
Because you mentioned in the book a fear of failure at one stage.
yeah.
And I'm wondering, does that play into Leinster? That you've been there so close before that like when things go against you in a game, is it like, oh fuck, this is actually happening again? like the Northampton game, kind of all of a sudden just ran away from Leinster.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, do you think that plays on people's minds? I don't know if it plays on yours or or you could put yourself in your teammates' heads, but I think human nature would be like, is this going to happen again? And then it kind of snowballs. I wonder if that's the fact.
Yeah, like I mean, it's hard to kind of put your finger on it because like if we had found the answer, we would have found it a long time. Like we would have obviously had a few more Champions Cups probably, but yeah, I mean it's look, I can only really speak for myself. I can't speak for anyone else. But like it's just yeah, I mean on the day like knockout rugby, all it takes is a few minutes in a game for a team to get a foothold or to lose a bit of momentum or for the tables to turn, and sometimes it's quite hard to come back. It's quite hard to come back from.
Would you say though that for your own speaking for yourself, then would you say a nervousness has crept into you in those finals when like you've been like, or has that thought crossed your mind? Is this going to happen again?
I suppose yeah. You like it's always. Like, I suppose it is human nature to kind of to think of that like before a game, and I suppose you're going out there to try and obviously try and win, but obviously you're kind of going like into a game and be like, right, we need to do this because of last year and the year before. But yeah, like it is like I said, it only takes like a few moments in a game or like for like a few mistakes to kind of compile or a few errors to kind of to rack up, and it's tipped in the other team's favor. And yeah, I suppose it's like I said, it's that knockout rugby where you just have to be the best team of the day. It doesn't really matter what you've done in the lead up to that or your form. Obviously, it matters to get to that point, but yeah, like it is just the team on the day, I suppose.
Starts again in 2 weeks as well. Rugby never stops.
Yeah, I know. It comes around quick, and then sure that's Queen's next week, then Leicester, and then you're into obviously the Interpros.
The La Rochelle again.
Yeah, and then you're pretty much into Six Nations.
Yeah, then back into the Champions Cup
on a Thursday night.
Yeah,
this year. Yeah. Is that because of the Winter Olympics?
Winter Olympics opening ceremony. For some reason, the French they really love their Winter Olympics opening ceremony. So yeah, I think it was going to be a Friday. Now it's a Thursday. I don't know, strange one, but could be good for the sport. I don't know.
You get that kind of 10-day turnaround before.
Yeah, like you have a tough start. It's France, Italy, England.
Yeah,
there's only one break.
One fella week this week.
That's a tough start.
Yeah, I think I probably prefer the one. It's very spread out with the 2 weeks.
Yeah,
in between.
Really, as a player, you don't mind losing?
Well, yeah, no. Also, like because hit the mic, but also like there's no rugby for the like URC when that's going on. So like there's a lot of waiting around for guys who aren't in the national setup as well. So like probably just.
It's the idea is that you guys need the recovery.
Yeah, I suppose, but yeah, I mean, I suppose you think it's a good idea. So well, like at the time. And then you just have to experience it. I'd say like after you probably get a split room.
Yeah.
No, some people want the 2 weeks, some people want the 1 week.
Yeah. All right, we'll wrap it up then. Really appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Especially after the weekend it was. I didn't know if this interview was going to go ahead, so I'm glad you came in.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
Last thing, are you happy?
In general?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm healthy. My son's healthy. My wife's healthy. Got great teammates. Life is good. Bar results, like there's more to life than a result on a weekend, but obviously it's tough because it's my job. But no, yeah.
Well, glad to hear it, Andrew Porter. Heart in my sleeve, my story of struggle and strength. Would definitely recommend it. Congratulations on the book. Best of luck with the rest of the season. Thanks so much for coming in.
Cheers, man.